Oh, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
I love you.
I know.
Get to the chopper!
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Hello and welcome to another episode of How to Be a Movie Snob, starring yours truly, Mariah and Pat. We're just getting right to it, folks. We're not wasting any time. We're not.
We're in it.
We're in it. We're right in it. This is
We're a duo.
Hey, a trio. Thank you very much.
Well, you had announced us as a duo.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, you guys are related, I've heard. So, same womb and all. That's the thing.
More than 50%.
We're the most related.
Mm-hmm.
Truth. Today, we've got a doozy.
Old doozy.
Never fails.
On episode 2 of season 2, we are going way back to 1928 in France. But this movie goes back even further. And if you haven't figured out already, because you probably don't care about 1928 French films, but today we're movie snobs, so we care a lot.
A whole bunch this
Whole
time.
bunch. So this movie is The Passion, not that one, folks, but The Passion of Joan of Arc. No Mel Gibson in this one, folks.
No.
So as usual, we are starting with our hot takes, and we're going to start with
Patrick.
because you're the furthest away.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my hot take, because I couldn't come up with a better one.
Oh,
But this is
okay.
The best French filmmaker is a Dane. That's my hot take.
It's the best French maker. What?
The best French filmmaker is
Danish.
a Dane.
Oh. Oh.
It's a Dame. Judi Dench.
I was wondering. I'm like, I definitely heard that wrong. So.
He's not very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was trying to come up with stuff, and honestly, that's the best I got. This movie's a little hard to assault without
Okay, I'll go next, Mariah.
tripping over yourself. But I'm curious what you guys have.
If you don't mind. This is the best silent film we've watched. 1. There we go. Hot take number 1. Number 2.
Okay.
This is the most important silent film for movie snobdom that we've watched by far.
I always forget you do kind of positive hot takes.
Yeah.
I always be like, I got to say something nasty about this movie. That's why I froze up. I think there's a lot to like.
That's why my TikTok doesn't take off as much, because I'm too positive.
Yeah. I was going back and forth about whether or not, yes, I agree that this is the best silent film we watched, but I couldn't completely commit to that because it is the best dramatic silent film we've watched.
Holding on to Buster, huh?
But
that's fair.
Yeah, but it was the easiest silent film for me to watch.
Yes.
You needed no words for this.
No, and
words unnecessary.
It felt so not 1928.
Yeah.
If you told me that Nosferatu, we keep trashing on Nosferatu, poor Nosferatu, but it was a B movie. It was a B movie. And then this is like relatively the same time period. I said, you are a liar, sir.
Yeah.
And you're wrong.
Yeah, the craftsmanship.
Those guys just filmed it in black and white in the next room.
Yeah, they did it. No, they
basically
had higher 8K red cameras that they colorized to do this. As far as I'm concerned, that was an airy freaking Alexis filming this movie. Like, that's how good. It was mind-blowing. Mind-blowing.
Well done.
Well freaking done. Oh, there's so many things to say about this. Okay, but we have to go with our next step. We've done the hot takes, and now it's time for the sponsored by no one's. For 2 solid seasons, we are unsullied by corporate money, and this is
we're in nobody's pocket.
Nobody's pockets, folks.
You can't
buy our take.
You can't buy these hot takes.
That is not true. If someone would like to buy these hot takes,
but
please reach out immediately, and I will
haven't bought these.
Take your money immediately. But this is the Summer Mariah section, starring Mariah.
So yes, this is a 1928 film, but it is set in 1431 at the trial of Joan of Arc.
Dun, dun, dun.
The trial. She's been captured. They're accusing her of several things. They're trying to get her to confess.
Yes.
Yeah. What are all the heresies?
That's it. That's actually really good.
She does a little bit,
and
then she doesn't, and then she dies.
Yep.
Heresy's one of the things.
Heresy and blasphemy. So
Sure.
they did blasphemy, and they did wearing men's clothing.
Yeah, cross-dressing.
Yes.
It was a sin.
Yeah.
It was a sin anyway.
So
Yeah.
great.
That was a big one.
You wear pants.
Yeah.
Burn her.
Yeah.
Weird, yeah.
Not punishable by
Pretty much.
execution, but it was a charge, and it all
Yeah.
went there.
A life
for
sentence.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Poor Joan. She's 19.
Yeah.
19 going on 30, I believe.
I think she's 35.
actress.
The actress was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which
She
really
looked-
plays into the really well filmed because he would not allow anyone to wear makeup.
And she, I mean, I don't think
She looked
she looked
pretty great
good
close
for 35.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I actually thought, like, oh man, like life was just harder back then, right?
Well,
this
yeah,
19-year-old
everyone
just aged.
They would have been weathered for sure.
That's
like,
so
I
She was
good.
in a
thought,
war.
Like, that made sense.
Yeah.
I thought, like, oh yeah, she's not gonna look like a little cherub. Like, she's gonna look a little
No,
worse
man.
for wear.
She was in the 100 Years' War. Come on.
Yeah, she wasn't part of all 100 years.
Looked great.
Yeah, it
She-
looked
Looks
like
great for
maybe
100 years.
a good
Barely
third
got
of
the
them.
last 20. That's
Yeah.
2, I mean. So, okay.
Yeah.
So let's start out with like the actual historical situation which is going on, which I thought was insanely accurate
Insane.
and one of the best historical films I've ever seen.
Yeah, he studied the transcripts of the trial.
The actual transcripts. Like
questions and answers.
This is like a historical piece of work for multiple reasons,
Yeah.
not just the fact that it's a gorgeously shot film.
Yeah.
But it's actually like holy crap.
And it's actually filmed in a historically very, very old building.
I was wondering
hasn't
about
been, I don't think they had. It looks pretty fresh, but
They thought
it's an old building.
they built it all.
I don't think they built it all.
that. Oh, okay. First dilemma.
Because there's a model. There's a
Research
model.
team.
Well,
I'm pretty sure this is mostly built.
that makes sense because the whole time I was
thought
looking
it
at
was
this
in an
film,
old place.
I was watching thinking, this is filmed nowhere.
Yeah.
No,
Because it was just
so-
white walls in the background
No,
and
I
close
think
up on faces.
I think I read that really old door that they kept showing was a really old door. Unless
Mm.
they
So
brought
that
that really
could
old
be-
door in.
But the
The set was plain
The-
enough that it could have been anything.
it was one of the most expensive things filmed at the time, and the producers are super upset with how little of the background you have ever seen because they spent all this money
For
They
real.
did.
essentially
I'd be
building
angry
a
too.
historically accurate
Yeah.
compound.
That's
Yeah.
so funny.
We're gonna
That's
ha-
so
And you
funny.
I
see,
think
like,
maybe research team
walls.
could be right on that.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I'd be so angry because I literally thought we could reshoot these scenes with a white wall.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
Actually,
All we
that
need
was
is
one of my
shadows.
favorite things about it was
Oh,
it
yeah.
felt weirdly ethereal.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about like, yeah, but it put the actors in like a great space, you know? It's like, well, that's why we need to spend all this money because the acting was better.
The whole
Even
play
though, yeah, it was
telephone with the judges. Ask this
It felt
question.
so-
Ask
Oh, so
this
good.
question.
Flat most of the time, although they used a lot of archways and canting to show kind of
Right.
how small she was. Anyway, that was like kind of a baller move, I thought.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we are gonna like put you. Going back to what you talked about, like this is an incredibly historically accurate movie-ish. They condensed 18 months into like one day.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
We only did 20 of the lines. You know, like we only know what 20 of the lines were. Like the actors are probably saying everything that was in the transcript. They would tell us like, you know, nothing, and then you see Joan go "we," you know, a lot.
That's
Oh
great.
yeah.
So it was like we didn't get so much of the historical stuff, but I also love that it didn't matter. It didn't matter who she was, really. It just mattered that
Right.
this girl was being like assaulted by this powerful.
I do like the whole intro
entity.
where it says we see Joan as she really is, a young
girl.
girl.
Yeah, and human, right?
Yeah,
and
human.
It's just like, it would also be, I think, like, to the producers, like, all right, I'm going to do a Joan of Arc story, right? And you're like, all right, we got war, we got
Right.
heroic, feats on the battlefield.
19-year-old
like,
girl
no.
leading the battle. Like that'd be a boss move in the 20s, man. Oh, little flapper
like,
dress on.
No. It's gonna basically be in 2 rooms.
It's just the trial.
It's just talking.
Doggone it.
And you're not even if you don't know anything about Joan of Arc, we're not going to tell you much.
Yeah, you really need to know the details going. I mean,
which I thought that was another just interesting thing. Like, again, just how much he either trusted the audience or didn't care. And obviously it was, at the time, like, she had just been canonized pretty recently, so it's not like people don't know who Joan of Arc was at the time.
Right.
Yeah, I think everyone knew who Joan of Arc was, but you didn't know who the judges were. You didn't necessarily know,
you didn't know any of the other stuff.
Who was influencing them, which a lot of people that were not French.
Right. Well,
it's
or French.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah. And I wonder if she was more, because unfortunately she's such a caricature in modern era. Like the other 2 Joan of Arc movies was The Messenger, and then Bill and Ted's Amazing Adventure.
Mila Jovovich.
Yep, that's Mila Jovovich. Yeah, Mila Jovovich. Nice job from the Messenger.
She would have been great in it too.
No, she played
with the no makeup. And
oh yeah,
she
would have. And actually, a young Mila Jovovich would have been perfect.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I mean, her in oh crap, Pat Brain. Bruce Willis.
Fifth Element.
Fifth Element. Thank you.
That's what I was thinking of.
Her sort of
without the dreadlocks.
Those dreads are awesome.
There's a lot of wide-eyed acting in that. Like, she could. That was
emotion more than
Joan
speech,
we got
for sure.
Oh yeah.
Like she could have done this.
Yeah.
Easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's so many things to break down. Like the cinematography was astounding.
Whew.
The storytelling was unreal. So when I started this movie, I watched it French only, no English subtitles.
Oh.
Yeah. Not on purpose.
Wait, what?
So it has French subtitles, right?
Correct.
I didn't watch it on HBO Max first. I watched it on Amazon Prime, and the Amazon Prime version only had the French. So I watched the whole thing in just...
But you would have got just as,
pretty much.
Nearly.
I mean,
there
was
a
a couple
few moments.
It did help, because when I watched it then in English later, I was like, oh, the gravity hit harder because you realize...
But even like the big things, when she finally recites the Lord's Prayer, there's no subtitles. You can just tell she's moving her mouth enough that you're like, okay, she's doing it.
Yeah.
But if you don't understand it, I think what was great was how they fed out just enough info that you could survive the next 10 minutes without any new words you understood, right? Like, that's what was helpful. But like, I think especially early when they're talking, trying to ask what Michael looked like, right? Like, did he have long hair? And he had these kind of like smart quips of like, well, why would he have cut it? And you wouldn't have got any of that, like, which I think made her have like a personality of sorts.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you got some of that because some of the French words are pretty similar.
Yeah. Like the questioning of what did they say? Are you in rapture, right? Or are you
in grace, in a state of grace?
In a state of grace right now. And they're trying to lead her right into the wrong answer, and she gives them this really great roundabout, like, I'm not actually giving you an answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, and I think you missed that, right? I think you get the gist of it. Like, you could watch this movie without any other information and kind of understand what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was, I mean, to me, pretty clutch to get some of that. And even like, you know, some of the priests or judges, because honestly, they were all dressed like their priests of some kind, even though they were judges, or some of them were judges. That was all a little weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there? It didn't really matter, I guess. People in robes.
So was some more sympathetic, like the one who bowed down to her?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then, because it was so interesting to watch him the first time, trying to figure out who's so sympathetic and who's like, I mean, obviously the guy who's like spitting on her was like such a caricature of like,
right,
just accused. The other guys are like smug, sitting back.
And then the few guys that are like, well, like the one guy who gets up for a minute and acts like he's going to leave. And then it's like, well, okay, I'll just sit down again.
Yeah.
Like,
like
I'm going to say
guys,
something. No,
yeah.
I'm not.
No, I'm not.
We're a little empathetic.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, anyway, like to me, like speaking of the young guys, talking about like, you know, that answer just sealed her fate kind of stuff, right? Like,
right.
Again, you'd get it eventually, but it was really nice having some of those feathers to just understand, like, what are these questions kind of about? And then I can just see them berate her, and I'm like, oh, they're just really digging into this topic.
Well, and I
don't need every question.
Yeah, and you can also see, too, that despite these totally manipulative people who really just want her to confess, they don't want her to die.
Yeah, that's
they don't want to make a martyr out of it. They want her to sign this confession so she can just be communicated and not just live the rest of her life in prison. Nobody wanted this girl to die.
Yeah, that was a pretty interesting thing that I didn't get, you know, obviously till the end. Like they, you know, because they, to your point, there are caricatures. The director just picked really interesting faces.
Mm-hmm.
And they're lit, you know, kind of menacingly, and so you
laughing at
it feels
her.
like they're evil in a way, but then of course, then they show us the guards who are like worse because they don't even have like a.
They're like the torture guards who are like, "Yay, we get to torture!"
Oh my gosh!
Like the Three Stooges in the dungeon.
That was like a weird. Yeah, but it was just like I think meant to show like, well, these people are just kind of disgusting, and these people are disgusting with a cause.
These people are politically motivated to do this.
Yeah.
And their
as opposed to just operating off id.
They're just trying to get Charles to be illegitimate, and for her to be convicted. That's really what they need, is this person to make him look bad.
Let's talk about the political situation, because that was a little confusing. Because these are Frenchmen who are allies with the British, with England.
Some of them
are.
Sympathizers, at least.
Yeah.
And they don't recognize Charles. They're in the dual monarchy idea.
Right. Because
they're up north-ish somewhere, I think, in France.
Because before I didn't realize, I thought it was just France who, in general, who put her to the stake. But no, it was this specific region that was dual kingdom minded. So no wonder the rest of France was ticked.
Right.
Like, what the heck?
But also, Charles had already kind of gotten what he needed out of her.
Yeah.
So he was kind of okay with her
taking
getting
the fall.
Captured.
Yeah.
Right.
Because she won enough battles and pushed back so he could get crowned, and where they always crowned Frenchies.
Yeah.
And so after that, she was kind of became
Frenchies.
She was taking up the spotlight a little bit, I think, and so.
Well, and she
lost. Don't know that there was a lot of effort to get her back.
Right, and they lost a couple battles too under her. Yeah. So that was like, well, maybe
she started strong, didn't finish.
Like,
strong.
well, if you're not going to keep winning, here's the thing.
I think also it wasn't just the political motivation about how the trial went, but just the procedural pieces that were wrong too. You know, like you get so frustrated. You're like, why is she surrounded by men? Why is she only like? How come there are no women here? Like, there's no, and like I know it was deliberate, because at the end, the only faces you see are women at the execution.
Right.
Beautiful, crying.
Yeah.
Like, it's very intentional, but it also made like in the research too, just of more Joan of Arc research of like the trial and all that stuff, how she should have been placed with nuns or somewhere where she was looked after by women. She shouldn't have been guarded by men. There's so many ways this was like yucky. They skipped steps.
There's definitely,
it's not just that they forged letters from Charles or that they told her like, oh, this guy's on your side and you just got to do this. And
okay.
I thought what was interesting about her portrayal, which I guess I'm curious what you guys thought, because when we started the movie with her eyes were so open that she looked psychotic.
It terrified me in the beginning, thinking, oh no, this is how this is going to go.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I feel like her performance changed a little. I mean, it went back to the big doe eyes sometimes, but where it made more sense to me. And then I was like, oh, she's great. But the start of the movie, I was like, yeesh, this is like real big and crazy acting.
Yeah. This is very theater acting. This is very...
So watching it the first time without knowing what she's saying in French, I thought, my first thought was like, man, she's crying a lot. Every scene, she's got to cry. Every single scene.
She's great at it.
Yeah. But I did notice like the part where she was resolved and where she was unsure. That was very evident. And I also started looking at all the lights reflected on her eyeballs.
Oh, I know.
I was much freaking light to get that film
right
to look that
there.
crisp. It had to, because the shots were amazing.
The grayscale too, the fact they painted it pink to make the gray really stand
I thought that was a fun.
That's so cool.
That was
otherwise it wouldn't work against the sky.
Well, it's like backlighting the rain for singing in the
so
rain,
cool.
like you gotta do some tricks to get this to look, and he was using tricks back.
Which I thought would be so funny, you're on the set of Barbie.
Or if you saw it colorized,
like when you're there and you're like, this castle's pink back here, like...
You guys spent all that money and you painted the whole thing pink.
Oh, that's so funny.
It's like chocolate sauce, right, for blood and stuff, where you're like, how do I feel about this chocolate sauce? Actually, speaking of blood, I know we're not in fun facts.
Whoa, we're going...
Holy poke in the arm blood spurt.
I laughed a little. I laughed a little because I'm like, it's just like,
it was crazy.
It was too perfect of I'm like, so it obviously was like some sort of spout of something.
No, that was a real arm.
What?
Yes.
No.
Someone, yes.
No.
Real arm.
Stop it.
So did you guys hear about like one of the first cut of the movie basically got lost in a fire, so we had to recut a version from other tapes?
And that also, didn't two of them? Yeah.
Well,
the original version of this was very hard to get.
Really?
It did get gotten, but it was found in
apparently in the
sanatorium closet.
Yeah.
Wow.
The janitor's closet in the insane asylum is they got the second cut, but apparently the cut they wanted to use, like, blood pressure had lessened, and so it was a little bit more of just a pour.
More of a letting.
It looks less crazy.
Yeah.
But because he had to go for another take, they got the, like, spouty
freshly tourniquet.
That was a real arm.
That was real?
Ew.
That was a real arm. I
thought it was really good how they cut it.
Yes.
But then the spurting made me go,
how are they gonna...
There's no way that's real.
Yeah, but it's just that knife goes right in there. And you're like,
they
didn't have like retractable knives and stuff like that.
No.
So anyway, crazy, right?
That was real.
I did not know that fun fact.
Oh, that's a good fact, Pat. That's
good
a good
job.
Your research team.
I don't know if I call it fun, but it was a good one.
A plus
I mean,
research
it's
team.
pretty fun,
that's
gruesome.
It is for gruesome stuff because usually like Hitchcock is like chocolate syrup, and then this guy's like, no, let's just cut him open.
There were three, outside of, I guess, the premise, maybe you could say was shocking. There were three things I was like, oh, blood spurt.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Breastfeeding baby right at the end.
Yeah, what the heck?
I thought, whoa, nipple, just out of nowhere.
And the baby, the baby's acting. Like, did anyone talk about the baby's acting? Because that guy was on, that baby was on point. And
that baby nailed it.
and back to
that was
nipple,
a really
and then
well-fed baby, though.
It was a
for
well-fed baby.
the times, maybe.
Yeah,
Very unimpressed with this whole burning at the stake thing.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? Like, I'm gonna eat more.
Oh my
So that
gosh.
was the second one.
Oh my god.
Oh, I can't wait to jump in and tell you the thing I noticed after you're done.
Okay,
Oh.
and then her body, when it's all flamed up, like there's
Yes.
clearly some body shape that was very convincing to me. burning.
Yes, yes.
And I thought,
Ew.
yikes. Like, so anyway, those are my three, like,
And that's why
whoa.
she wasn't in any movies after this. We need it to look
Final
real.
role.
We
Very
need it to
convincing.
look
I mean, he
real.
did film sequentially for a reason.
Yeah, that's right. Oh,
The thing that I noticed
this ought to be
that
good.
was problematic for me in this movie, and the only thing really, I mean, it was pretty great. So you're panning the crowd at the execution, and you're going through and you're seeing all these people. One guy is wearing glasses, and I'm like, hold the phone. How many people were wearing glasses back then? And I looked it
I
up,
did notice
and
that.
I was like, okay, how prominent were glasses? And like they
Yeah.
existed because the printing press was coming out, so the demand for
Gutenberg,
glasses
hey.
had gone up. But I still do not
Gutenberg.
buy that these round glasses.
Yeah, they were like bottle,
Yeah,
Coke bottle.
I did not
That's
buy that
funny.
they were super common
So,
at the time for 14.
If we're talking about it's historically inaccurate, the World War I looking soldier,
yeah,
The helmets.
the
on
helmets,
the
dude, that guy
Englishmen.
straight out of World War One. I was like, that's World War One. I know that.
When he just
that's-
had he's had chains on.
oh,
and
it
you're
cracked me
like,
up.
what was this look?
Why did
Yeah.
you think this
That
is
was
I
what
wasn't
accurate?
paying
I
any
didn't know.
attention to the.
How is
uniform.
this
It was the
1400s?
glasses that-
Every time
Did not
he
get into it.
every time he came on set on screen, I'm like, nope, you don't belong. You're on the wrong movie set.
You
need to
wandered
go back
from your
over
lot
to the
into
World
this
War
one.
One.
You're like, hey, pink
Yeah.
walls, what's going on here?
I mean, he could have been a bad guy in any movie.
Any German movie. He
Any
looked
century.
except for this century, except for the 1400s. Any movie except for the
Well,
1400s.
It's a good thing he wasn't wearing glasses, because I would have noticed him then.
Oh, he's like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, how's the war going, comrade? Oh my gosh. It was So that was my historically, and the cell phones. That was hard to see.
Yeah.
The coffee, the
Time
Starbucks
traveling.
coffee cups
Yeah.
in the background.
Uh,
of
so-
Game of Thrones. Okay.
I think we've talked about it a little bit, and I wanted to dig into it a little bit more. Like the cinematography, and I think where we, looking at like Nosferatu, and even a lot of the other just early stuff, the tracking shots.
Thank you. The camera
were
movement. I'm glad we're getting to the camera movements.
clean.
They're insane.
Like,
they were insane.
Side of that last thing where I was talking about, where I thought like you don't need to go up and down how high everybody is because it got a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, just when they're panning through.
Oh,
or
I
tracking
thought
along
that
in, like,
every
the
single
street,
movement. Every single
I was
movement,
like,
I was so
how
impressed.
are they doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who had the technology? And they're digging big holes.
Yeah,
They're-
they dug
to
holes
get
in the
those low
building to get
angles.
those shots. That was cool.
And obviously they're rolling in, but even they nailed every
They're
shot when
so
they pulled
smooth.
in. And even the one where they're in the torture chamber area, and then all of a
yeah.
sudden the camera movement follows it to the bottom thing,
Yeah.
and it stops at the
Yeah.
perfect spot. I'm like,
yeah.
that is so impressive.
Yeah.
And
Well, and then they had the drawbridge shot where they were following like the people coming in and out.
Yep.
Right.
Oh
Like,
my gosh.
And you're like,
Oh.
hanging a camera.
And then there was one
And
where they
rotating it?
shot up,
Yeah.
where they were going over, and
Yeah.
I was like, this is so good. Like,
Yeah.
this is how is this
It
1928?
felt very modern.
It felt so
Like
modern.
it felt like a film student
If
being like, I'm gonna do cool stuff.
I
Yeah.
literally thought if I did all these movements in every wedding film, that I'd be impressed with myself. If I could pull off this
Yeah.
100-year-old camera movement with all the modern equipment I have, I'd still be impressed. And even the goofy where it like kind of like you're on a swing and it goes up to the thing where they throw the mace down and then back
Oh,
down
yeah.
and then
How
back
it's
up.
swinging
And I was
every
like,
time. Yeah, that
it
was a
still
little
was,
weird.
it was a little weird because it was like, okay, that's a little cheese, but it's still
happened too
very
many
cool
times in a row.
movement because
Yeah,
it's like
the fact that you
mace
did it
down,
seamlessly
boom.
and-
Yeah,
yeah.
so I'm glad you brought that up because I was blown away. I literally yelled out loud, How are they doing this? And Kendall and Megan are doing the puzzle in the next room, and I'm yelling at the TV. That's incredible! How is this from 1928?
Yeah, it didn't. A lot of it didn't fit the time. The amount of cuts and shots is so different than like anything. Like that's very modern. Like the speed. Like I don't think there's any shots longer than 13 seconds or something. They said like it's
so modern,
and I think that made it easy to watch
because we're used to that.
And so there's tons of like great stuff, and then I get hung up a little bit on like, but boy, you broke every film rule.
Ever.
Eye lines don't matter. 180 degree rule doesn't matter.
No.
Which I think, I'm curious how intention. I mean, I assume
because like you literally have no physical idea of where anyone is in the room,
right? But
you have no concept.
For her, you know, she's surrounded, so she can look any which way she wants.
And she does,
and it's fine. Like, she's just kind of
But then the angle's different, and she's looking at a different angle, and it's a different Dutch angle, so it's crazy.
And sometimes it's like you're looking right at a person, and then the next shot will be profile, and you're like,
oh my god.
Which I assume that was to make us feel like, yeah, this is overwhelming and
the story
people are coming from every direction or something. But it was just like, you've perfected the craftsmanship here, and then you're like, but who cares about any other rules over here, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. It's just crazy because there was never like a conversation where like,
no,
over the shoulder, never. And there was never, and even when she's getting burned, you still don't really know.
Well, and with all the judges too, they're just all looking back and forth, talking to each other.
And they're running around.
Yeah, there never has to be. There never has to be. So it's very easy to break that rule.
Well, yeah, there's no establishing shots. No. You never see the full room. I think when she walks in to the torture area,
through the doors,
and when she first comes in, you're like,
it.
okay, I kind of know what's going on here. But
well, and they said the set was like octagonal, the room or something. Like the whole shape of it was so that it made it impossible anyway.
That torture chamber was just for show, right? It didn't look like anyone had actually been tortured in there. That was just like,
a little too clean.
This is where we scare people.
No.
A little too clean.
Like,
well, and what's also funny is having watched Robin Hood Men in Tights this morning.
I'm glad we're getting back to Robin Hood Men in Tights.
And that there was a torture chamber in there, and it's like the tongue stretcher. There was no signage in this one.
How are you supposed to know what this was?
No.
Yeah.
Well,
the camera
they kind of had like a rat.
The cranking of
thing
the
leaning
spike
on the wall.
thing.
Okay, so do you shove them into it as it's spinning around?
No, it's not torture. It's just killing. Those spikes were long enough to you die.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like,
it was a scare tactic. It was a scare tactic.
Yes, it's just for show.
Yeah.
So
all of it was
it's
just
like
for show.
the Iron Maiden, because Iron Maiden is the way to kill you, right?
But I mean that was a fake thing.
Yeah, I think it might have just
medieval torture devices were made up after the fact, not in the medieval period.
Okay,
I think that it was really just
team.
it was probably just a scare tactic to get her to sign the thing, and I'm sure there were like they could show her lots of sketchy stuff.
I can't believe I'm googling medieval torture.
Medieval torture stuff.
I know. I was in the Tower of London too. I should have in that torture room.
Most of the things were made after the medieval period.
Sure.
As like, hey, could have been, when really there wasn't. They weren't that fancy. They just killed people and hung them. You know.
I think it was like poking and there's no rack. Yeah. Makes sense.
Right. So the Iron Maiden is the most famous fake one. That's true, because that didn't come around until the 19th century. But I think some of the other ones, like, they did crazy stuff back then. Like,
don't get me wrong, they tortured people.
Rats in a box and heat up the box till the rats chew through the huge. Like, there's crazy stuff that happened back then.
After someone probably told a story about it
torture.
And was like, we should make that box. Let's do it.
But I mean, they did have pretty modern torture. Waterboarding was in there.
It's good to see that there's
I mean, you use what you've got.
Shout out. Hashtag.
Burn the end of something, and you have fire, and you have water, and you have a lot of wood.
Hashtag heritage, not hate.
Yeah. I thought the big guy who's spinning the wheel, it was kind of Price is Right vibe.
Menacing. It was very Price is
Right. Is he gonna get a $1, be part of the showcase?
Still be better than my spin. Oh my god.
Went over.
I have never seen. Sorry, this is a little for. I've been on this Price is Right, listeners at home. Yes, that's right. I'm famous.
He
Super
did a
famous.
flip.
I didn't do a flip. I should have though.
That was the exact person who gets.
I have never seen him get as low on the spin as my spin on the Price is Right. Like I think it.
What did you get?
It totaled 35 cents. Total.
Okay, yeah, you did
both
two spins.
It was like 10 cents.
10 and 25.
Yeah, I think that was my spin.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's terrible.
It was the worst I've ever seen, and it was heavy. By the way, that wheel, it was heavy. I don't know what this new one was, but yeah. Anyways, all right, folks. Now we're going back to 1928.
Or 1431.
Right. Oh, 1431 while you're at it, yeah.
Torture.
Oh my gosh, this movie's so good. I just still can't get over how I was watching this. I'm just I'll just watch it half-heartedly in the background, and then I just start yelling at the TV because it's so freaking good.
Yeah.
I just can't get over how, and I'm watching it in French only. I'm watching it with like stuff going on in the background, and I'm just enthralled. I just can't get over how good it is.
Yeah. For sure, the second half of the movie for me was amazing.
Oh, yeah. Once you're kind of invested
a
little bit. So was the Amazon version, did that use the Voices of Light score, which is on the Criterion?
Yes. The Criterion
version?
The Criterion is so much is a better sound mix. And so as soon as I went to the HBO, I'm like, holy cow, this is so much better. It was some incredible.
That score is great.
Yeah.
Which was not the original score.
No.
And sometimes the movie played to silence, and sometimes it, whatever. I thought it worked.
I think they did record bits of the original, too. It'd be interesting to hear some of it. They don't have the whole thing, but I know bits of it have been recorded.
It's so
but
crazy.
Man, the Voices of Light I thought was really awesome. Just all the monastic chanting, and it just felt very epic the whole time.
It felt very fitting. I liked it.
Yes.
Oh,
big fan.
Oh, Wrigley likes it too. Apparently, where my dog's out.
He's doing his own chanting.
He objected.
Yeah, he's like, I'll tell you what I think about that. Okay, so I think this has got to be like the best movie of all time up to that point. Like, in all respect to Metropolis, and all respect to Buster Keaton. Took me a while to say it. I almost like
Buster Douglas.
It's just so ahead of the game in so many ways that like until Citizen Kane comes around, this has got to be it. Like, this has got to be one of those movies that you watch and you're like, how'd they do all that?
Right.
How'd they make all that happen? How'd they make it look so clean?
Well, and
so crisp?
some of those movies too that are, ranked the best of all time were kind of crept up on people. They didn't have great critics in the beginning, but this one was always critically enjoyed. It was a financial flop, but it was
as they all
the
are.
Critics sure liked it from the get-go.
Oh yeah, imagine this. Hey,
politically it was.
Hey, you want to go on a date to go watch Joan of Arc burn? It's not a good thing.
Yeah, I don't have to tell you the ending.
Fun.
No, it's like going to Oppenheimer versus Barbie.
Yeah.
That's why Barbie's killing Oppenheimer. Let's just be real here. By the way, you guys seen that thing with Barbie and Wakanda? What's the Marvel
Black
character?
Panther?
Black Panther. Same plot.
No way. I did see Barbie.
Ken's the bad guy.
I could see that. Yeah, kind of misguided.
Comes back to a land of magic, of amazing things, and they go to the real world, and they come back, and that's pretty good. Anyways, sorry, I diverge again.
Yes.
So yeah, that
Rest.
I still
digress.
And diverge back. I don't know. Same. Here's the thing about English.
Road.
English is hard.
Got off the road.
Are we gonna talk about diversion?
You don't
now?
even need
Fine.
it.
Okay, we'll talk about diversion.
So,
that's a good.
Just watch movies in French without subtitles.
Yeah. So
But yeah, the craftsmanship put it in like this. To me, it could have been made in the last 10 years
Oh
from
yeah.
a craft perspective.
To the point
Which
even
is
where I'm like
insane.
watching these actors going, he looks really familiar.
Yeah.
Right?
What else have I seen him in?
Like
exactly
the judges
right.
where you're like, it's so
Yes,
good.
like that guy.
It so feels like now that you're like, man, I swear I've seen that main judge in something else.
Yeah, he was in a John Wayne movie. Positive.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, that was 1928. He's John Wayne's
Just a
grandfather.
leather-faced guy. Yeah, no.
Oh, it's crazy.
It made it.
Yeah, was he in
Yeah,
Tombstone?
it made it very familiar.
And it also made the actors and actresses like knowable.
Mm-hmm.
Because in some of those older movies, even the Charlie Chaplin, like other than the two characters,
because the makeup,
yes,
even if it was
They
filmed
didn't look like
beautifully,
clowns.
they were
They
wearing
looked
so
like
much
people.
makeup. Yeah,
it's just it doesn't make sense to the era at all. Because doesn't they feel like cartoons when you think about some of these older movies with Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin.
Well, I mean, is it really the first movie that the director did this research and made this historically accurate? I mean,
the Buster Keaton movie was historically
That.
accurate. The general's trying to be, but
but without
that was based off
without
something.
any glam added.
or
That was the no makeup thing and the close-ups thing
Yeah,
were like revolutionary.
yeah.
they still barely do that. Yeah,
And it looks great. Man,
It's
they all
amazing.
look great.
It's amazing.
Every nook and cranny.
Mm-hmm.
She was lit differently than the judges. They had really harsh shadows and stuff, and she
Right.
did. But still, no makeup. Very
But
close up.
and a very awkward angle, always looking up.
Yeah.
Like I was surprised, not surprised looking up at the judges because they always felt menacing over you. But hers is always the undershot, but yet she still was vulnerable. Because usually you'd shoot down on someone to make them vulnerable, right?
Yes.
So I was very surprised.
She had the hero shot.
She had the eyes
Yeah,
though that
the
kind of made you
eyes,
just
gosh.
always go, she's really unsure, but she is sure.
And
Like
just
she's not falling
pleading.
for it.
Yeah.
It felt like she always was hopeful that somebody would come to their senses and help her out or something, right? Like that kind of got back to her acting, like the performance. She had some quippy, wise evasions and remarks to their questions, but she also felt really naive at the same time because of how she was acting, that she didn't quite know what was going on, and it was this weird it's hard for me to square who she was as a character because most of the time we didn't see her talking. She was just reacting and longing and being sad, and so she felt very kind of helpless, which I wonder if that's why he wanted to do some undershots to
Right.
build her back up a little bit.
She seemed a
as
little,
figure.
I wouldn't even say unstable, but affected. She was very
Yeah.
affected by her visions and very taken kind of out of reality by them in some ways, but also she's got a mission and she's sticking with her mission and
exactly
she's
right.
faithful and I'll start wearing women's clothes again when I'm done.
That was great. I love that line.
Like-
It's well, I will, but I'm not done yet.
Yeah, not today.
Not today, Junior. Oh, wait. You're
Yeah,
definitely missing
and by the way, all you English are going to be dead or out of this country.
Yeah.
And they're like, how dare you?
Yeah.
What was with... They had the shot of all the guards, what I thought were all the guards leaving in this big single file line. I thought it was war coming. And then it was just there's still kind of the guards that were there that you remembered. I couldn't figure out what was that? Who
Yeah.
are these people? Where did all these spears go?
Well, and also
There's a couple things where
the
I'm
clubs
I don't know what's going on.
the clubs being dropped out of the tower window, they knew there was going to be a riot.
Yeah.
Like, this
for sure.
is
Oh, yeah.
get your riot gear on, and I'm popping it out this tiny little hole in this wall. You just keep catching them and get ready because we're gonna start clubbing these people with these.
And we're just going to
spikes.
start bashing people with our maces.
Yeah,
Pretty
Oh,
that
brutal.
was definitely
brutal.
I mean, that was as brutal as the execution.
It's like that Braveheart
the fact that they're
scene.
whacking people in the street with these spikes.
Yeah.
Oh, and the dead mom.
Baby's crying.
Baby's crying.
Yeah, and the kid going over to her.
It was very wrong.
Yeah,
It did not play out the way they intended.
Yeah, it just seems like a bad move altogether. But I assume.
Speaking of that part, the end of the movie, when the executioner is like kind of tying her wrists and the rope falls and she picks it back up.
Yeah, she helps him, and that's true. That's part of the whole thing. Like it really happened.
Just how voluntary it all was.
Yeah, she was resigned. Let me just help you out here. Don't make it harder on anyone else.
Oh, jeez Louise.
It's really, like it's a brutal movie.
Yeah, in the best way.
It's kind of, and I feel like the first part, even though of course I know what happens, I knew where we were heading.
Yeah, right.
I don't know everything about
one
Joan
way or
Mark,
another.
this is
going.
For the listener, Pat said, "Lo, let's watch Joan burn this week instead of when we were picking movies." So yeah, Pat knew where it was going.
It wasn't a spoiler.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, but so you're watching, and I think that first part, because I'm also trying to just figure out, like, well, what's going on. I apologize, audience, for the dog barking.
Hey, dog's got to bark, you know.
There's people walking around, I'm sure. That's
How dare they? Intruder alert.
Anyway, like the beginning here, I'm trying to figure out, like, what's everyone's doing, what are the motivations. So I kind of got wrapped up in, the present, so to speak. And then even honestly, I was like, when she signed the abjuration, I forget what the word I was sort of unfamiliar with.
Oh, and the guy signed
her
it for
confession. Yes, and the guy
held her hand as she did it.
No, he signed it for her.
J, and then he signed it.
By the way, on the Wikipedia page, they have that signature, and it's creepy.
Ooh.
Oh, that's crazy.
It shows her signature on the Wikipedia page. It's so cool. Okay, keep going.
Oh. But yeah, I was like, oh, well, like I was just shocked by that turn of events because I thought, well, isn't she going to get burned at the stake? And I was like, oh, you're sentenced to prison. Like the story.
Isn't that cool?
Again, this is my ignorance of how it all went down. But like, I thought, oh, like I wonder how this is going to end. And I was like, how much time's left in the Like,
I checked that too. I was like, wait, there's like a turn here, like a plot twist.
Something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really did pull me in a pretty profound way, which is for a movie in 1928. Again, like we were talking about, that's
amazing,
crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
A little more involved in this story than I was with whether or not Charlie Chaplin gets back with
the flower
girl.
Yeah.
Rude, horrible flower girl.
And children.
Laugh at the spitwads.
Yeah.
So, research team dug pretty hard on something that I could not figure out. I'm curious if you guys noticed, and if it will haunt you for the rest of your life.
I hope so.
Oh, I can't wait.
What was the human-faced chicken dragon drawing on the wall all about?
I was wondering that too. That was so funny. I was.
Which wall?
It was in the background.
It was right out her cell.
Yes, exactly right.
On a rounded wall, and there's a crude drawing of like a chicken with a long neck and a human face like throwing up or fire. And
it's like one of those Anglo-Saxon-y
I was like, was this a
symbols? Is it a symbol of that castle? The castle, what's it called?
No, it's like a kid drew it. It was not. It was just scrawled on the wall like graffiti.
Very dark. Now
I thought, like, was this a? Some descriptions of like angels are pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, is this an angel?
Is this the drawing she did of Michael?
Yeah, like it's like, no, Michael looks like this chicken face guy.
He didn't cut his hair, but
so he did have wings. He did have wings, but he also had chicken feet, and he was throwing up. No, I couldn't. It was clearly intentionally put there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Every other wall is stark.
I wonder if
we've got a chicken drawing.
They use so many sources, paintings of portrayals of Joan of Arc from the past, like of the time, and I wonder if it wasn't something that he saw in one of these portrait source pieces of art that portrayed Joan of Arc's trial, because there definitely have been many over these centuries. I wonder if it's like something that was just found in a educated guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. And
medieval artwork is wonky.
It is wonky, and they do talk about a lot of like hybrid animals.
Sure.
On the walls and stuff. So that's.
I'm gonna text you guys the picture because it's.
Please.
Oh, I'm on it. You don't have to text me the picture. I've already got it.
It's crazy.
It's hilarious. It's very juvenile.
Yes, and it's front and center.
If I remember to edit it onto the video, I'll throw it on the video for you guys.
Yeah, please do.
Hey,
for the audience.
Screen around.
Oh, here we go.
Show me.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I saw that right away, Pat. Thank you for bringing that weirdness up.
And I was like, what is this?
I literally thought
I did Google image searches of it.
Whoever's the art director just lost a couple bucks because that was not their A game. I was like, come on now.
Someone was like, these kids running around on set aren't ready to cry over their dead parent yet, so we just got to give them a crayon.
The Fisher Price version of it is better than this. That's all I gotta say.
I just don't know what it's symbolizing.
Yeah. Well, they don't know. Yeah. Beast of War. A lot of things.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Creepy.
All I can find is like chat rooms, and they're like and
everyone's like, "What is this?" And no one.
Yeah, everyone's like, "Well, they had a lot of hybrid beasts back in the Middle Ages."
Sure,
and you're like, sure.
That's what I would assume is that he'd seen it somewhere in a portrait or some sort of masterpiece, and
drew it in this prison?
Put that creepy thing on the wall.
Yeah, dude.
We want to make this darker.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Dragon time.
I find it hard to separate because this movie is so historically accurate to
more or less,
to not keep going, and find out what happened after the fact, because we all know, everything just turned out great. Yeah. I think
and
it's
now we're
cool
here and we're all better off.
I just thought it was cool that his couple decades later, her mom and her brothers are still alive, and they bring this up. Like, hey, let's look over how this went down. Can somebody?
Yeah, it did actually make me go like, oh, I wonder if I can find translation of the minutes.
Yeah.
To hear more of what she said.
She had that much family too.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever talks about her family.
And I think that gets back into what's the other astonishing thing about this movie and the subject matter is how it ignored what is an insane thing that happened in a peasant girl was given power by a future king to command an army against the English.
Just got into his radar in the first place. She
convinced enough people.
Archangel Michael. He thinks this guy
sent her to drive the English out of France and put you on the throne. And he was like,
let's talk.
All right,
they got through that siege because of her. The siege is what gave her cred.
Any way I can get this crown, let's get this.
Yeah, he don't care.
And it's just that is I know that's why The Messenger was made, because that is a crazy story. You make movies about that because it's nuts. But he chose to tell the quietest, saddest part of her life.
Sure.
In a way.
Yeah, there's no battle. She's not in any armor. She's not wearing any breast shields. She's not wearing they don't make her look as tough as she was. They play this
vulnerable.
Totally to this 19-year-old girl who's gonna die.
Yeah.
And we see her kind of at her lowest in a way, in that she, well, certainly at her lowest, but how she sort of betrayed
herself,
everything she believed in because she was scared of getting burned at the stake for a bit. And I don't know in real life how long it was between that signing and her being like, no.
I feel like I
like,
think it was
that's not true.
Real quick.
But like, that's your like, oh my gosh, like,
Jeez Louise,
you are committed.
15 sessions of trials. Oh, with that junk.
Yeah. I mean, it was over a long period of time too. Like that must have been horrible.
Yeah.
Just waiting in between.
But yeah,
them.
it's good stuff. And I would say for anyone who's like looking up anything about this, the color poster is horrible.
Yes.
Don't look at it at all. Look at stills of the movie because they're beautiful, and the poster is
terrifying.
The worst garbage
Total
I've ever
rubbish.
seen.
Total rubbish.
Sure.
Whatever
the chicken
art
drawing
designers.
is worse.
I was like, the chicken drawing in the background is a little subpar.
But man, it so betrays the beauty of the movie. Like she got like a moon halo crown behind her head, and it's
true.
fire, and it's
None
gross.
of that. None of that happened.
Oh my gosh. So, yeah, I think we all agree it's just appreciation for this movie. There's no.
This is so snob worthy.
It's so snob worthy. Like you, of course, have to watch Citizen Kane. But this has got to be top 10. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm getting rid of Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin before. Like, they're later. They're too pop culture.
Well,
they're too pop culture.
I just feel like they're very different.
They are, and they're
different
good.
genres.
But this to me goes into the Seven Samurai conversation. Like, this is like upper echelon snobbiness, because if we're talking movies that like are timeless and change the game forever, this has got to be there. Like,
oh yeah,
because Charlie Chaplin's movies are a kind of an institution. It's like the MCU was an institution of our era. I hate to.
Yeah, they're a product of the time.
I hate to cheapen Charlie Chaplin with the MCU, but
he set up the equation,
right,
for movies to come.
He gave himself
this
control,
movie is a standalone, gorgeous movie.
This is Citizen Kane.
Beautifully told.
To me, this
story.
is Citizen Kane of 1928.
Sure,
Like,
I think
it was
I would
a game
agree
changer
with that.
in a bunch of ways that, and I mean, but also the game didn't change because of this movie, seemingly, right?
No, because it was too out of the ordinary and not a.
Like it was too ahead of its time.
Right.
People were like, whoa,
And
I'm not going to wear 2 pounds of makeup on my face.
And too spendy.
And it probably didn't make you. And actresses aren't. The popular opinion is like, you know what I want to look like? Joan of Arc before she died. That 35-year-old woman
I want to
playing a
see
19-year-old.
every pore and every spit wad falling on her face.
What's crazy too with her performance is like that still looked on as like one of the greatest movie performances of all time, which is like insane.
Top 26, and it was the top of the silent ones. Like she was the best.
Oh, for sure.
It was like the best silent
Roger Ebert
performance
said,
ever.
"You don't know silent films until you've seen her performance."
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Which
she
100%. Like this, I think
creepy
to me,
as the whites of her eyes were in the beginning.
Yeah, well,
she had me. She had me a little bit later. It was great.
Yeah.
Side of some of the weirdness and certainly breaking all the film rules, like the film rules that help me understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Not the film rules of, hey, do cool shots and don't have everyone wear too much makeup because they look weird. But like it is.
And light the crap out of it so you can see everything.
Well, and the cutting of her hair. Like how
Oh,
gritty,
yeah.
and she
that's
took the
right.
part going, I really hope they don't actually make me cut my hair.
Yeah.
And they did, and she did it anyway. Like, good for her.
It's brutal.
Wow.
He's one of these other early directors, or I guess directors, who was not super nice either. Like she was constantly in kind of a state of discomfort.
I did kind of hear that.
It goes back and forth, because I also heard that like she and him would also look at dailies together, and then they would decide together. So it was like the argument.
Awful, but I would like you to keep going because we're getting what we need.
They were artistically in it together. It seemed like, even though he was probably, I don't know if he was Fritz Lang level awful, but we'll see.
Oh yeah, but what I meant to say was, outside of those things where I go, maybe not my favorite. This is by far the best filmed silent era movie. Like easy,
Oh, yeah, easy.
Like
easy. It's crazy to say that too.
So ahead of its time.
So ahead of its time.
From a craft perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, it literally with the camera movement and the placement of the cameras, like
the clarity.
Citizen Kane doesn't seem
So
as
good.
crazy revolutionary after watching this movie.
No.
Am I wrong? Like
that's like, oh, you dug some holes. So did
this guy.
And he moved the camera. Like.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, it's insane. Like I literally was inspired to do better movement because of a 1928 movie. That's crazy.
Well, and just the way it told the story with just so little words and so little,
I watched the whole thing in
scenery.
French. I watched the whole thing in French and I didn't care.
They gave you so little and did so much with it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
Great.
It was amazing.
And yeah, if you want to be a snob,
this has to be on your list. This is top 10 snob movie. This is top 3 of what we've watched, guys. On
the snob scale, 100%.
Right?
Yeah,
There's
sure.
no what
Snob
compares to this.
Snobby, definitely top 3 for sure.
As far as our most snobby movies, like we got this. I still throw Seven Samurai in there because Seven Samurai is still like the predecessor to westerns.
Mm-hmm.
Action movies. But action
movies.
Is like a prototype for like a courtroom drama, too, right?
Yeah, it's the best of the courtroom drama. Well, 12 Angry Men, people argue that's the best courtroom drama as well.
But this is ahead of 12 Angry Men.
Yeah, a little bit. But
like it kind of has this like you're in the court, the quiet moments outside, then you're attacked again. Like it gives us a little bit of a roadmap of how other courtroom dramas can play out.
For sure.
Because it was a courtroom drama, right? I think that's what makes all that translate.
One of the original
politically motivated, like.
What other recorded court drama do we have before this? Well, I suppose there's some Roman ones. I take that back. There's Caesar.
But really, I wonder how many like
Et tu Brute.
But I wonder how many like complete transcripts there are that you can go like. This is what they asked, not just they famously said this, and of course this is what happened. But like,
I'm pretty sure.
I also like that they highlighted the scribe, right? They kept kind of showing him.
Yeah, that's funny. Little third wall there. Little third wall there.
Yeah, this is real. He was really capturing it.
I knew this influenced Deadpool somehow. I knew it did. I just couldn't figure out how. But I'm pretty sure, guys. This is Sparta. I'm pretty sure that's from when he kicks the guy in the ditch.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's a courtroom drama as well.
Sure.
The original.
Yeah, Frank Miller was there in ancient.
I mean, he's nothing if not historical. No,
those abs say nothing but historical accuracy.
Yeah.
So okay.
I mean, they were naked as he could make them. In his comic, they were naked. That was more historically accurate.
Oh, this is incredible. So I don't even know what else to say. It's so weird. Like I feel like this is gonna be a shorter podcast because it was just so good.
Yeah, there's not a
lot to like make fun of.
No.
There's not a lot. It's just like you have to watch this movie. The angles are insane. The movement was great.
And the
storytelling was great. The cuts were great.
And I think the beverage is sacramental wine. I think that's what we should.
Blasphemy! Blasphemy! We haven't.
Just got the body
she
of
just
Christ.
got the body.
We have.
Well, they didn't show it. Anyway.
It's a bummer. We got to burn Mariah at the stake. That's the bummer about this episode, but it goes with the episode.
Signed nothing. Nothing.
This is top shelf. Very few people drink alcohol. Pick your poison, but it's just old and amazing. Yeah.
The stuff I could criticize, you could just argue, well, it was intentional, right? Like there's a bunch of just these are just choices they made to be antithetical to some film language theory. I was listening to Viggo Mortensen really loves this movie, and he did a screening where he introduced it. And he said the one thing he'd change, which I did. I also thought this. I thought me and Viggo were in the same boat.
Same person.
He thought he'd
basically.
have the shot of the charges that was nailed to the post earlier, because they burned the last, and it's like those flames are huge.
Yeah.
That paper would have burned that first.
This is parchment. It would have
He's
gone
just
up.
like, I wish that was earlier. That was his one issue with the movie.
Not
That's
the glasses.
That the paper. Yeah, he didn't care about the glasses. Just that the
I really
want to
do more of a deep dive on the glasses, because it's not that they didn't exist. I just don't think those existed and were just someone walking around wearing them.
That can be another feature, anachronisms in these movies.
Okay, guys, this is hilarious, but this director also did the movie Vampire.
Yes, right after.
Yeah.
And that's hilarious because, like, imagine we watched that and Nosferatu. It'd be like,
And Nosferatu.
But 1932, so it's well after the silent era, but it's kind of shot like a half silent, half regular. Anyways,
yeah, it kind of sparked my interest.
I was like, ooh, that's kind of fun. I'm like, we trash on Nosferatu. Nosferatu is great because it is a B movie.
Give me a better vampire movie back then.
Yeah, right. I was like, well, let's see what
we found it.
Let's see what the guy who made one of the best selling movies of all time it did with the vampire story. So, no, it's very interesting. I just would love to know the behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. Like, all I wanted to watch was how the crap did you light that? How did you dolly that? How did you rock that? Like, all I wanted to know was all of the technical stuff of how they made this movie work. That's all I wanted to know. And
that's it.
They don't have that. Apparently the GoPro wasn't working well that day, so they couldn't just get the VHS footage.
To me, the fact that they did some of those tracking shots in a cement building and it was as smooth as it was, I don't understand. Because, what wheels were you using that were that smooth? Like, your point, Seth, like with modern equipment, without like a steady cam, or perfectly level like tracks and wheels, it's very hard to not have something bumpy, which is like what every other movie of the time has.
Yeah.
Even when they try to do cool shots, you're like, hey, that's cool for the time, but it's real janky. This was like, what?
Smooth,
how are they doing it where
shot.
It's not janky?
Yeah.
So good. Oh, so good.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Good one. I this was not on my I gotta watch this movie.
No,
me neither.
No, me
I'm
neither.
glad it was on yours, Seth.
This was literally a backup for this week, guys. For those listening at home, we have a huge list that we like to go through and like put on the Snob list. And we're like, well, you know what? We did a fun one last week with a relatively easy one to watch, so we should do another silent movie. And we reluctantly did this, and man, are we glad we did this.
Paid off.
Don't sleep on the hits, guys.
Easy.
Don't sleep on the... Yeah.
This is going to be really hard to compare other movies, too.
Oh, it's just so
now
hard.
that we've got it
I
in the
literally want to watch...
wheelhouse.
I want to watch Citizen Kane again. That's what I thought of when I watched this movie, Citizen Kane. So...
Yeah, it raised the bar to me for movies of the era, right? Where now I go, well, you don't have an excuse anymore.
Yeah.
For me cutting you slack on.
Yeah, Dreyer did it.
Camera work and stuff, right? It's like,
yeah.
They did it in a castle they barely showed.
Yeah.
Made out of cement.
Well, and he did it as a director in a foreign country. I mean, he might not have had a lot of comfortable people with him over there.
Yeah, but also
I didn't look it up.
A
but
ton of money. Don't
not
forget,
sure.
Don't sleep on the money factor, folks.
Not sure how many Danes he brought with him to be part of the crew. If it was largely a French crew. But France did ask him to come do this, which was interesting.
And I think they gave him 3 choices. Do a movie about this person, or this person. And Joan of Arc happened to be...
It's probably Napoleon.
The one that had come up. It might have been Napoleon.
Yeah, I think it was.
No, maybe not, though, because I
don't think so. I think she was...
But she was the most...
French.
She was the most recently discussed person, and it was in France.
Yes, because she'd been... canonized only a few years prior.
Yeah, and it was very recent.
Catholic Church.
Like 21 or something, maybe?
Yeah.
That's crazy. But immediately after she was killed, they were like, oh no, she's cool.
No, it took 20 years, I think.
Was it 20 years?
The French
1950
were,
something.
But the
Or
church,
1450. Excuse me, 14.
I think the church was like, what do we do about this?
Right.
For a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good stuff.
Good
Watch
stuff,
it,
guys.
everyone.
Winner.
If you want to be a movie snob, this is, we can't stress this enough, essential viewing.
Yeah.
Just essential viewing. Oh, so good. So freaking good. Let's pick a drink. I'm gonna pick a freaking Dom Perignon old one because it's so good. It's so good. Like, it's gotta be the expensive old,
A really dusty old bottle of red.
dusty old Dom Perignon. Well, what's the Finnish wine? What's the Dutch wine? The Dutch wine.
Yeah, what is
A
it?
Dutch wine that moved to France. That's hilarious. That is crazy. That the
I'm gonna go with some communion grape juice.
Yeah,
that you're like,
gross.
well, that doesn't sound great.
You gotta do
but when you have it,
communion wine.
delicious.
Communion wine, at least. At least go Catholic.
Well, I don't.
Stay away from the
But,
freaking Protestant churches.
Yeah, but come on. Like, it's a thing you didn't expect you'd enjoy so much.
That's
And
true.
It's like, grape juice is great.
Grape juice is good. This is supposed to be Jesus' blood. It's delicious.
Yeah, wonderful.
Way
Oh my
better
gosh.
than the crackers.
Oh my gosh. On this sacrilegious note, guys,
Here we go again.
thank you for listening or watching How to Be a Movie Snob. This has been a great little foray into the world of The Passion of the Joan of Arc. You must watch it if you want to be a snob. This is part of your curriculum, guys.
Very good.
Yep.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. This is Seth.
Mariah.
That.
Signing off. Take care, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.